proceeds, and our line is Wootini, here with another Gay Gamer video podcast. As you know, I took last week off. There was no new episode because I was traveling to visit family for the 4th of July weekend, and it was great, but I did not get a whole lot of gaming in because basically, you know, you're visiting with family, so you're spending time with family. Of course, it was like 50 degrees and pouring rain for half of the holiday weekend, but I couldn't really like get into a game because there's kids everywhere and there's interruptions constantly, so like, you can barely read a book. So gaming is a little tricky. And I made sure that I had Clubhouse games, you know, I downloaded that, so I was like, oh, well, we could play games, you know, but the problem is that there's a lot of people, and what we all ended up playing was like dominoes, and then they played this card game that seemed really complicated, so I was like, you know what, no thanks, I'm good, I'll read. And with the Switch, it's like, it's only good for 2 people, so it doesn't really work, because I've only got the 2 Joy-Cons, I didn't bring anything else, so that was no good. So not a whole lot of gaming. The trip up, I only just played some Animal Crossing and a little Picross. I was looking forward to playing more on the trip home because that was a longer bus ride that made more stops, and it would have been wonderful to be able to just like lose myself in something like The Witcher. Because I remember like many years ago playing a Zelda game on my GBA SP, I think. I feel like that's what I was using, and getting so into that Zelda game, and then like looking up, and suddenly we're like in Manhattan about to pull into Port Authority, and I was like, oh, the trip is over. Okay, didn't realize. And that's what I would love to do is, you know, because I couldn't sleep because I was too anxious about COVID and everything, but I was like, if I could lose myself in a video game, I could pass a few hours and wouldn't even notice the time was passing, because that's what a good video game does. Unfortunately, I lost my headphones. Somewhere in the house, someone in my family got an extra pair of headphones in their suitcase, because I'm pretty sure that's where they fell, because all our bags were all together and stuff. So somewhere is a pair of headphones, and of course none of them use them because they all use the wireless Bluetooth AirPods and stuff, so these actual headphone jack headphones are useless to them. But unfortunately it meant that I couldn't play my Switch on the trip home because all I had was my USB-C headphones from my phone, and I've tried them in my Switch and they don't work. Not all USB-C headphones work with the Switch. There are some that do, but apparently not mine. Great. So I didn't want to play games when I couldn't hear what I was doing, because sound is a very important part of a video game. So I basically just played my Animal Crossing, and then I did some Picross puzzles, because you don't need the sound for that. I can just listen to music on my phone and do Picross puzzles. But that sucked. So I was very happy to get home, where I could then jump back into Assassin's Creed Valhalla again, because yay! And I continued to make terrific progress with that, playing for hours at a time. And I was very excited because I finally Eivor got a boyfriend. I was getting some interest from Petra over at the hunter's cabin that I built, but I knew that this baker was, you know, Tarbin was cute, and he was very, you had to go through a lot of, you had to help him with some bandits, and you had to go fishing with them and all this other stuff, and having a couple other conversations with him, and then eventually he confesses his feelings, and very cute, it's very cute, he says, "May I kiss you?" And then of course you can say, well, you could say no, but why would you? So you say yes, and then things escalate from there, and now Eivor has a boyfriend, and it's very exciting. And it was good because I very nearly pursued the romance line with Petra, which would have cut that one off, because just like with what's her name, I didn't want to sleep with my brother's wife, because that would be, I didn't want to sleep with Ranvi because that was going to cause an issue when my brother found out about it, because you know he would. So here I was just like, I can go off and have one-night stands all around England, but like, these are people that live in the camp, So I'm like, they're living in the same town with each other and with me, and I can't have two people in the same place. So I was like, I'd rather have a boyfriend than a girlfriend. Sorry, Petra. So that's delightful. I also discovered, I finished another quest arc, and discovered what my friend was talking about when he complained about Ivar. Because way back at the beginning of the game, I took a little virtual portrait of Ivar, because he has a very interesting face, because he's all scarred up. And my friend saw it on Twitter and was like, oh, that asshole. And I was like, what? He's just kind of obnoxious. He's not that bad, really. It's fine. Except for the fact that when he shows up again later in the game, he's kind of he's kind of a dick. But you're like, okay, whatever. It's almost amusing how obnoxious he is. But then later in the game, he shows up and he does something that totally ruins your plans. I'm trying not to spoil, even though it's an old game and y'all have played it already, but still. It's the principle of the thing. So he ruins your plan, and it's super annoying, and you're just like, ugh. So that was irritating. But then as that quest line continues to develop and the storyline twists and turns, he does something way worse. And I was just like... So, suffice it to say that I took great pleasure in making sure that his final moments on Earth were as miserable as possible. I got very into this part of the quest, and I was very upset by what he had done. I didn't cry or anything, but I had a reaction. I was like, what? So I got upset, so I took a great pleasure in making his last moments miserable. It's the little things. And it's crazy because I think I'm like around 60 hours into this game, and I still feel like I'm like halfway through. It's ridiculous. I've just recently, in the past couple days, I've gone back to Norway for a little bit, just to complete some stuff there and synchronize some points, because I left Norway a little too quickly, and there's a whole section of Norway that I never did. And I also wanted to go back and get that legendary beast, the elk there, so I could get a trophy for that. I haven't gone back to the Hunter's Lodge to get my trophy for my room, but I will, eventually, because I killed it. It's much easier now that I'm leveled up. At the time I was in Norway, I was like level 5, and it's like, no. But I'm still enjoying that, and I just want to mention that now it's July, and I was very excited to see the list of PlayStation Plus games for July contained A Plague Tale: Innocence, which I've heard great things about, and I've seen some, lovely, it's the Black Plague, so it's not exactly lovely, but I've seen some really nice virtual photography from this game, so I've wanted to play it. So when I saw that it was going to be a PlayStation Plus game, I was like, yay! Then I saw that it was for the PlayStation 5, and I went, ugh, because up till now, they haven't really had much for the PlayStation 5, because there isn't much for the PlayStation 5 yet. So they're like, here, have the upgraded Plague Tale: Innocence. And I'm like, yay, except I don't have a PlayStation 5 because you can't fucking buy it anywhere, still. So that was irritating, and I was really frustrated. But, just out of curiosity, I went on the website, went into the store, logged in, just to see if I could maybe add a PlayStation 5 game to my library so that one day when they are actually available for purchase for normal people who don't want to sit around staring at restock listings all the time, I can get a PlayStation 5 and then I will have this game to play. But when I went, it turns out it is also available for the PS4. They weren't really clear about that when they made the announcement of their free games for the month. At least I didn't notice that. So, just a heads up, if you haven't played Plague Tale: Innocence and you're interested, but you still only have a PlayStation 4 like me, you can still get it. So, go get it. Well, it's free this month. Sony also had a State of Play this past week, which had some trailers that I was like, whatever. But there was one trailer that I was like, woo woo woo, and that is Moss Book 2. Very excited, because when they had their Summer Games promo, you might recall that episode where I was very excited about the summer games because there were a bunch of games that I wanted to try, and some of them were VR games, and I love my VR games. And of course, subsequent episodes where I played Moss and fell madly in love with Quill and the entire adventure, and it was just beautiful and wonderful. So I will not be waiting for Book 2 to become a free PlayStation Plus game or anything. I will be buying this when it first comes out, because now I know it's really good, and I will spend the money on it when it first comes out and support this, support this developer and support VR games, because I want plenty of VR games on the PS5 when one day that is released. One other announcement that I wanted to talk about, I just want to touch on Nintendo's announcement of the Nintendo Switch OLED model, which everyone is rightly disappointed in. I am also disappointed in it. Because honestly, of all of the things to fix about the Nintendo Switch, like a larger, brighter screen is good, but not necessary. Like, the screen is fine. A slightly larger screen, that would be better. But I know people wanted, they wanted 4K output. That would have been nice, a faster processor. Although I will say that if you start digging around under the hood and making a faster processor and stuff, then sometimes you'll have games that play better on that and not the regular Switch, and then it just creates a whole thing. But I personally would have been more interested in it if it had a longer battery life, and if they had announced that they'd figured out how to get rid of the Joy-Con drift, if they'd figured out how to stop that from happening. That would totally be worth the purchase, just for the Joy-Con drift. A battery would also be better. And then the extra bigger screen would have been a bonus. So it's basically like the 3DS XL of the Switch line, because it's a bigger screen. And that's about it. I mean, it has a wired LAN, but who cares? Like, does anybody... I mean, I guess if you're really into online gaming, you go wired because you don't want the lag. But I don't, so I don't care. So yeah, so that's a bit of a dud. The color's nice, I guess, but yeah, I'm not spending that money on it because it's too expensive. And I don't need it. Also, after COVID hit, I don't play my Switch portably anymore, so I don't need a really nice portable Switch anymore, because it just basically stays attached to the TV all the time, so oh well. Alright, this one has been very long. I'm sorry, but there was a lot to catch up on, because it was a couple of weeks worth of stuff to talk about. So, come back next episode where I will have gone to the movies. That's right. As I mentioned before, I am going back to the movies to see Black Widow on the big screen in 3D. So, come back next episode and I'll tell you how that went. Fingers crossed. Bye!